What's up, dude? You know that one recipe that just never gets old? It's the go-to family hit that keeps showing up year after year. Well, this pork chop is that recipe. It's brought my family so many happy memories, and today I'm passing it along to you. Now let's go! Now, first and foremost, in order to make a truly great pork chop, you need a truly great pork chop, right? I mean, it's just a no-brainer. And by that, I mean you want to find a pork chop that is at least 1 inch thick, 1 1/4 inches even better, 1 1/2 better than that, 2 inches, you're golden. And not just that, but at a lot of American supermarkets, they will literally take away the best parts of the pork chop, the bone, and all this incredible marbled sort of cap, fatty, ribeye looking stuff near the bone, and they'll leave you with just the eye. There's no fat, there's no marbling, there's nothing. It really is a sad piece of meat without the rest of it. I've got 2 pork chops here, and as you can see, they are a little bit different. One of them, they've left all the meat around the bone, and on the other one, they've cut that bone down and sort of Frenched it out a little, meaning scraped down that bone. It's really just a presentation thing, but if you're asking me, I prefer the one with all those extra bits on it. Those are my favorite bites of the pork chop. For seasoning, I'm gonna be using my homemade rosemary salt. I'll put a link to that recipe and video down in the description. And of course, you could just use salt, but this is a blend of salt, rosemary, sage, garlic, and lemon zest, and it's amazing on pork chops. Highly suggest you give that one a try. And as always, season from a little bit of a distance so you get a good spread. And depending on how thick your pork chop is, you wanna put more or less salt. If it's really thick, put more salt. If it's really thin, put less. And a little bit of Sergeant Gilbert reporting for duty, that's black pepper. And my pro tip for you when it comes to the pepper and pan searing is to use finely ground pepper, and I'll tell you why I do this. But before I do that, as you turn this to the other side, make sure you dip up some of the seasoning with that fat cap and then season the other side. And the reason I use finely ground pepper instead of coarse is because when you use coarse pepper and it's too thick, it literally like lifts your meat off the pan. You lose your sear. If you lose your sear, you lose your color, you lose your color, you lose your flavor, you lose your flavor, you've lost your lust for life, you know? So yeah, you need that. Now before moving on, a quick word from one of my favorite sponsors of all time, Trade. And you know, personally, it is pretty rare that I actually go out and get a coffee at a coffee shop. I am really into brewing my own coffee at home, and that is why I love this company so much, because they have shown me by far the best beans I've tried while living here in Austin, Texas. Trade is a coffee subscription service that delivers fresh coffee from the best roasters across the country right to your door. And you may be wondering what makes Trade so special, and one of the main reasons is they roast their coffee beans fresh to order before shipping to you. And if you know anything about coffee, you know that fresh roast is absolutely the way to go for peak enjoyment. I mean, the flavor and aroma is truly off the charts. And it doesn't really matter what type of coffee you're into, whether that be espresso or cold brew, Trade has got you covered. And normally I'm strictly an espresso guy, but with that warmer season on the way here in Texas, I've been leaning more toward iced coffee, and thanks to Trade's cold brew roast, I can now easily make my own at home. And if you've never made cold brew, the process is extremely simple. You just scoop the coffee, add water, and chill overnight. It really is as simple as that. Not only did this cold brew taste really strong, but it had so much flavor. And I'll tell you what, Trade's prices are really on par with what you would pay at the grocery store, but the quality of Trade is like way up here. They really do have the best beans. And for a limited time, Trade is giving away a free Hario cold brewer when you sign up for a cold brew subscription when you go to drinktrade.com/ThatDudeCanCook. That's drinktrade.com/ThatDudeCanCook to get your free cold brew maker with select cold brew subscriptions. Thank you, Trade, for sponsoring this channel. Now let's get back to the recipe. I've got a nice big stainless steel pan here. It's been on the heat for about 3 or 4 minutes. I really like to preheat that pan sort of aggressively before adding any oil. I'm just using a little bit of avocado oil for this. It's just a neutral oil. You could use another one like grapeseed or canola or what have you. And after 20 more seconds, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my pork chops in. That's the fat cap going down first. Basically just gonna hold them together with these tongs. I really wanna get a good sear on that fat cap, render a lot of it down, and then sort of cook it in its own fat mixed with the oil. If you feel comfortable too, you can even hold them up a little bit like this. Give it a little love, try to sear that fat cap all the way around. And you can tell if it's ready by just simply looking at it, right? You want it to be nice and golden brown, a little bit rendered. I'm gonna take it a little bit longer. Can only do it a lot of good. I'm also gonna roll that down a little bit right there so I can get that end a little bit. And after just about 2 minutes, now we can go ahead and just lay these flat and begin to sear them off. And I'm just putting a little bit of pressure, not enough to really damage or smash them, but just make sure I have a really good contact with the pan. In some cases, you'll get a pork chop that has a really thick fat cap all the way around. In that case, it can be good to make a few little slices through that fat cap so it doesn't curl up. Although with these ones, it was so thin that it just wasn't necessary. And for a pork chop of this size, I recommend about 4 minutes. And then just go ahead and give them a flip. And actually, mine did curl up slightly. It might have been wise to actually make those slices. But again, look, we got so much color on here. These look so beautiful. They're gonna be absolutely delicious. And after a minute of searing on the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and add my shallot. It's just sliced in half. About a minute later, I'll add my crushed garlic. And I recommend you leave that peel on as much as you can. It sort of protects it from burning while still allowing it to release its flavor. Now at this point, I'm turning the heat all the way down to low, and I'm gonna throw in a couple tablespoons of unsalted butter. And after you put that butter, I recommend you just do a few little tilts like that, just sort of combine the pork fat now with the butter. Big mistake I see people make when basting is they just throw the butter and start basting right away. You want it to foam like this before you ever start basting. Because if you do it too early, there's just way too much moisture in there. There's always a little bit of cream left over from the butter making process. And so you don't want to get these things wet. You'll actually lose your sear. We need foamy hot butter like so. And then we can start basting. Another trick I have for you is with these big pork chops on the bone, this is the hardest part to cook. It always ends up a little undercooked, this section right there. So when you baste, concentrate fire on that section. I'm not saying you can't do the whole thing like this, but you want to do most of it right there. And that's really gonna help the whole thing to cook evenly. And in the last 30 seconds, we're gonna add our herbs, right? Just a little bit of thyme. I see people just add that way too early and it just burns. We just wanna release those beautiful little flavors from the thyme without burning it. And so we'll do one more little baste here for about a minute. Oh my gosh, I mean, how good does that look, my friends? Yes. And there we are. Time to give them a good rest. And the general rule you want to follow when resting small cuts of meat like this is to let it rest for half as long as you cooked it. If it spent 8 minutes in the pan, you want to rest it for 4 minutes, although I go a little over. So if I cooked it for 8, I'll rest it for 5, right? If I cooked it for 10, I'll rest it for like 6. And in terms of how I like to eat my pork, I really like it just blushing pink, right? A little past medium, medium well, something like that is just perfect. So I pull these at about like 130. Because of the basting, they're going to carry up so much, and I think that is going to give you a really nice tender pork chop. Pulling off on a little side road here, I did just start a gaming channel. We're having a blast over there, currently playing Oblivion. If you're into that, definitely give us a follow. And now for the love of God, do not wash this pan. All you want to do is get the fat out, which by the way is absolutely delicious. You can do a lot with that. Just use it how you would use oil or butter. Don't put it on pancakes, but you know what I mean. Because what we want to utilize is all that fond on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to show you right now how to make one of the most banging sauces of all time. We're starting here with orange juice, straight in. Full recipes in the description, but it's just 1 cup of orange juice. And then I'll just use a little whisk here to begin scraping up all that fond. And we'll begin by reducing this orange juice by about 50%, at which point we're gonna add a 1/3 cup of balsamic vinegar and reduce again by about 50 or 60%, or just until you start to see it thickening up. To finish, we're gonna turn the heat all the way down to low and start whisking in little cubes of cold unsalted butter. And with the butter, you only wanna whisk in a few cubes at a time, and once that's almost worked in, then you add more. Just do it in 4 or 5 stages. And as you put that butter in, you'll see your sauce start to thicken up even more and get really glossy and shiny. And to finish, we're gonna season it up with a little bit more rosemary, salt, and black pepper. And this is the sauce for pork chops. It just reigns supreme. And after resting, you can see our pork chop is just glistening. It looks absolutely beautiful. Let's slice into this thing. And so what you wanna do is just get your knife under there, and we're just gonna glide along that bone, just like that, get it right out. And of course, this bone is absolutely good eats. That's my favorite thing. If you cooked it, you're the chef. This is your Scooby snack. From here, we can go ahead and take off this little tail end. This, my friends, is my absolute favorite piece. And as you can see right here, it is just blushing pink. We did have to reheat this a few times, so it's a little more cooked than I like, but that looks absolutely beautiful. As you can see though, it is really tender. It's just coming apart nice and easy. And we'll go ahead and slice up the rest of our pork here. As I said, because we reheated it so many times, it's a little bit overcooked for my liking, but the instructions I gave stand. Trust me, that's gonna be perfect. And probably most people like this. It's still really tender. And if you want, you can just fan it out a little bit just like this. Give you a nice little presentation. Let's go ahead and plate this up, serve it with some of our sauce. I got my little cap pieces down here on the end. And if you want, you could absolutely serve that with the bone. In fact, I would be mad if I didn't get that bone. And now the best part of all, this sticky, absolutely delicious glaze. Oh my God, let's get that over everything. You can serve some more on the side if your guests want. But that's it, my friends. Happy days. Let's give this a taste with Marcus. Okay, Marcus, here we go. Extra sauce on the side. Oh, yeah, get that. There's extra sauce.
pork caramel.
It's quite the experience. These kind of glazes with pork chop, absolutely incredible, right? Another good one would be sherry maple, right? You can do that combination of something sweet, something sour, and then fat to cut through it, which is the butter. It works so good with pork chop. It seems weird. Balsamic, orange juice, butter, absolutely bang it.
This is delicious. I don't eat a ton of pork chops, but I would eat this every day. This is unbelievable. Make a pork chop. Make it.
Thanks for watching today, my friend. Please give this pork recipe a try. Let us know how it goes in the comments. The sauce is really gonna blow your mind. And if you're a fan of written recipes, definitely check out my Master in the Making ebook that has 55 of my personal favorite recipes from this channel. And if you want to keep learning today, here are 2 more incredible pork recipes from my channel. Until next time, you know I love you and I'm out.